The Inner Child is a Weapon by Schizo Dumps. Let's see what he's talking about in this video, man.
How the inner child seems to be a great weapon against evil. It does seem to be, and I see this theme a lot in a lot of movies that I really like, and a lot of like books that I really like reading that I remember reading as a kid. The theme of like the inner child versus like the Saturn sort of demiurge, that does seem to be something that spiritually resonates with me, and it does seem to be that like the demiurge loves to put on its serious hat. They love to like evil loves to be taken seriously. It loves.
Now, mind you, I want y'all to remember this. Not everything is external. Yeah, there are external factors that are oppressive. But 9 times out of 10, if they show up in your life, is because you were oppressed within your mind before it started being oppressive within the reality, right? Mind, matter. So peep the reptilian, right? Now we all in this spirituality, this exoteric space, we see the reptile as the demiurge, or the not a Grigor, but the archon, lizard demiurge, i.e. Satan's demons, i.e., this doesn't get manifested into your life until you manifest it within your mind first. The archon stays an archon in the spiritual world until it is invited into your mind. The demon is invited into the physical, the matter, your matter world, your physical world, until you invite it into your mind. You remember off of Sinners, when vampires couldn't come in because basically they had to be invited. They had to be invited into the shack. It's the same thing with your mind. These demiurges, these archons, these demons, they're not invited into your mind unless you let them, through negative thought patterns, through stressful thoughts, through all these fearful thoughts and all these things. They're not allowed to come in until you allow it to come in. And then once you allow it to come in and fester, that's when they manifest within the reality. Once they manifest in the reality, that's when shit get fucked up. But you gotta understand, this is just an aspect of yourself, though. This is no different from this is your matter. This is the left hemisphere of your brain. This is the masculine hemisphere of the brain, or side of the brain. This is the false light. This is the matter aspect. This is the one that wants to be taken serious. This is the
To be taken.
animalistic brain. Your inner child is the one that ultimately helps keep this motherfucker at bay. Understand that. Don't look at this, the lizard or the demiurge or the archon. Don't look at it as anything outside of yourself. There's no reason to look at it outside of yourself. This is just the animalistic aspect of yourself. Imagine all of this is going on within your brain. This, again, the lizard is the animalistic aspect of yourself. The lizard brain, the animalistic brain, the masculine aspect of yourself, the matter, the left hemisphere of your brain, that aspect of yourself that loves the senses, the five senses. It takes everything serious. The one that is deeply rooted within identity and ego. So just keep in mind what the inner child does to defeat, or to at least incorporate this masculine matter, animalistic brain, and make you whole again.
Um, it loves to be taken seriously. It loves to be boastful. It loves to be seen as like a big threat, the big bad. And I think like there is a reason why like the evil in this world seems to be obsessed with children. It seems to be obsessed with snuffing out the spark of the inner child as soon as possible. It's obsessed with corrupting the innocence of a child. It's obsessed with traumatizing children as soon as possible, right? Like with all like the private islands and like all of like the the adrenochrome harvesting rituals. There does seem to be a thing about like the way the evil in this world operates. It seems to be very, very, very anti-child, very anti like the idealism, the expanded sense of awareness, the expanded like the powerful imagination, the idealism, the expanded sense of possibility of.
Everything he just listed off is what happens when you are balanced between both pillars: the masculine, the feminine, the light, the dark, the left hand path, the right hand path. the matter and mind, when you are balanced between both and grounded within present presentness, that is when your true light starts to show. That's when you become non-dual. That's when your true light comes to show. And obviously, the one that is super grounded and has the ego set on being basically your left hemisphere, the left pillar, the matter aspect of yourself, the animalistic brain wants to snuff out that balance aspect of yourself because it can't cling on to the five senses. It can't cling on to the animalistic desires no more. It has to take in the feminine aspect, or it has to take in now the feminine aspect of yourself, the spiritual aspect of yourself, the mind aspect of yourself, the ether. You don't want that because this motherfucker right here is so grounded. Its ego is so grounded and inflated by its five senses, wanting to keep experiencing and chasing its five senses. So that's why it snuffs out again your inner child. Your inner child is just representation of you being a whole being, you being whole. When we come into this world, we come into this world whole. We come into this world with new eyes and a fresh brain. So we experience it without any judgment or anything. That's why it's so important. And we come into this world with play like wonder. Play to we all we want to experience is joy and happiness, and we figure out how to do it every time. That's why it's important to always listen to this inner child. It doesn't go nowhere. It's still within you, but it's probably piled on top of pain and yeah, pain, insecurity, pain, and all that shit. So you just have to. It's important to tap into this inner child because this inner child will help guide you to a whole aspect of yourself, with both pillars being basically intertwined. I guess you could say.
Child, it does seem to be something that is a great threat to the system, and you see a lot of like people who are narcissistic. They hate it whenever they see like the inner child inside of people glowing. They hate to see, like whenever people have that sort of glow and they have that sort of that life, that spark inside of them. And so there does seem to be a thing about like the demiurge and like the sort of Saturn energy about like, oh, you need to be realistic, you need to grow up, you need to
What I tell you, on top of pain, turmoil, insecurity, that's what the whole. You see what I'm trying to say?
stop, get your head out of the clouds, people say, right? Like that kind of energy of just trying to drag people down to like to the physical level and keeping them in the physical level, right? There does seem to be
Keeping them trapped within the matter world, the 3D, the physical world, the matter, the left hemisphere of the brain.
an attack on the inner child in this in this sort of a system, this sort of control system on this planet. And a lot of the movies that I really like that deal with the sort of inner child theme, and I recommend people watch these movies and like read these books, is I think like the Never Ending Story. You have like the Never Ending Story. You have The Little Prince. It's an animated movie, and then you have like strangely enough like the Lego Movie, right? Which I mean like that sounds like super retarded to say, but it's not. It's yet again it's like the power of the childlike imagination versus like following the instructions and being like all like, oh, like things have to be this way, and trying to super glue all the Legos together to be a control freak, right? And there's also like black cube of Saturn symbolism in the Lego Movie, like in the final sort of scene in the movie, like the whole there's like all of like the robots that want to like super glue all the Legos together. They're all in the shape of like black cubes. So yet again, it's like the Saturn energy versus the inner child imagination. That does seem to be a very powerful theme. And a couple of books that I remember reading as a kid were like A Wrinkle in Time and The Giver are also really good ones. But that does seem to be a theme that really speaks to me, is like this idea that like the battle between good versus evil on this planet does seem to center around like the childlike spirituality, the inner child, the imagination, the idealism, the expanded sense of possibility. It seems to be like that versus the quote unquote grown up sort of demiurge being locked inside of a box, kind of like, oh, you have to grow up. That's not possible. That's not that's not rational. That's not reasonable. right? You can't do this, you can't do that. You have to, oh, like that's just the way things are, and just accepting things for what they are instead of trying to change them. That does seem to be sort of the ultimate battle. And it reminds me, and specifically, like the Never-Ending Story depicts this sort of battle between like the inner child versus like they call it the nothing in the Never-Ending Story. It's like you have like the world of fantasy. Right, you have like Fantasia, which is like it's like the realm of like humankind's imagination, filled with like fantasy creatures and stuff like that. And then you have like the quote unquote nothing, which is like corrupting the land of Fantasia, there's this like really like excellent monologue from this black dog villain that happens in the film, and he talks about how like the nothing is because people have begun to lose their hopes and forget their dreams, and so the nothing grows stronger, is what he says, right? And so that really I'm getting chills even just talking about it, because that does seem to be a real like a thing that rings true, is that like that does seem to be like the ultimate battle, is like the battle between like that inner child energy versus like the grown up sort of nihilism, pessimism, which I think that I've been like, because of the fact that I talk about like the prison planet a lot. I do, it's hard not to be pessimistic with all the evil that exists in the world. But I think like the whole like nihilism, being constantly pessimistic and defeat is like being like defeatist, like defeatism is like that is like does seem to be like a spiritual warfare thing, like the whole black pill demoralization thing. That does seem to be like a form of spiritual warfare that people have, that people are falling under, is like they're like that inner child is sort of dying inside of people, and like that, and this world is sort of designed to attack the inner child, to attack the childlike intuition, right? Because children are the ones that are the most connected to their higher spiritual faculties. They're the ones who sort of remember what life is like outside of this prison planet system, right? And so like that thinking.
And I also want to bring another connection. P-Pow, the new generation, the children, are our future, for the simple reason of their dreams, of what they want to do for this world, of their new eyes viewing how this world is. They're our future. So if we corrupt them, what would our future be? And if we corrupt the people who have the chance to tap into their inner child, what would the world would be in the future? This is why you seen the bullshit going on within the Epstein files. What do they want? Corruption of the children. So more corruption in the future happens. It's not even in the Epstein files. It's way more corruption than just the Epstein files. But that's the connection I wanted to bring to
the inner child, that intuition of the inner child, the imagination, the idealism, is something that like you need to keep that alive as long as possible. And it is a weapon against evil, because yet again, it's almost like like it's almost like this demiurge, or like this sort of evil that runs the world, that loves to put on a serious hat. It loves to put on like its serious hat. It loves to be taken seriously. It wants you to be scared and afraid of it. And so like this whole like, so anytime you put on like the multicolored propeller hat, right? as soon as you put on like the propeller hat, and you say la 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 la, like that does seem to be like it pisses off evil. Like you see this with like narcissistic parents. You see this with people who.
And what he means by la 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 la, he just means when people are able to tap into this inner child self, this inner light, you have a sort of carefreeness about you. A sort of, carefreeness about you. Like you just drift through life, flow through life, and allow yourself to just kind of be. You experience life for what it is. You allow it to come to you. And a lot of people hate that, because people feel like you should be grind. Be miserable. And it's just like, bro, it's never that deep. So much so that people end up, I've seen this multiple times, like people will end up creating, it's not even on purpose. Some people genuinely create chaos within their life. Like they will create chaos and bullshit in their life to identify more and to not be targeted by people who live within this 3D, or live within their left mindset, the animalistic mind, so they can blend in with the rest of the world who is quote unquote all just oppressed, and we're all just going like, you see what I'm saying? Nobody wants to live within this carefree lifestyle where it's not necessarily carefree where you don't care about yourself, you don't care, but more or less just you're allowing things to come to you as it is. You're living within the present moment. You're not allowing things to get to you as much. You're experiencing life for what it is. You're experiencing life as if you have a new set of eyes.
Sort of hate the childlike energy. Like they hate whenever children are like be freely expressing themselves, and they just want to. It's like that is like a demonic obsession with like snuffing out the spark as soon as possible, or like you're not allowed to have fun, right? Like everything's serious. You need to take everything seriously.
You gotta be
Right. So
miserable.
that does seem to be, like
Don't
one of
make
the great
sense.
spiritual battles, and I think that this does just like this is like the most accurate sort of description of like the battle between good versus evil that I've been able to sort of find. And yet again, all the movies that sort of talk about that sort of inner child imagination versus like the demiurge Saturn based sort of control. That does seem to be something that resonates with me the most when it comes to when it comes to like how to describe like the what is like the battle what is like the battleground that is happening on the spiritual level it's that it's and yet again there's a reason why they're obsessed with like corrupting the innocence of a child with like the child sacrifice stuff that a lot of these elites do. There's a reason why they're obsessed with corrupting the innocence of a child, snuffing out the spark. Like, oh, you're not allowed to have fun, you need to grow up as soon as possible, right? Like there's a reason why they want to snuff that out, because that inner child energy is directly linked with our spirituality as human beings. It's directly linked with our purity, with our spiritual purity. It's directly linked with our, divinity. In a
I seen this on a clip on TikTok from Eggs and Grits, I think that's the podcast. They were basically talking about how nowadays you can't even be joyful because in the external world, in this world, to be joyful is means it's a reward basically. Being miserable is like the norm. You should be miserable until you get a reward, then you can be joyful. When that doesn't make sense. They were basically saying like being joyful like people only see joy as in, all right, did you get some work done? All right, did you do this? All right, did you cause more pain? All right, what did you do to deserve that joy? When really it shouldn't be, oh, what did you do to enjoy or deserve that joy? It should be that should be the norm. Experiencing joy should be the norm. But nowadays a lot of people are just miserable. Literally, people are miserable. It's the norm to be miserable because a lot of us identify with this left brain, the matter brain, this animalistic reptilian brain we identify with. So everybody nowadays feel like, oh, I have to be miserable. If I don't have what I want, I can't feel joy. And I can't even feel joy or experience joy because everybody around me is miserable. So if I start feeling joy, I might be targeted.
way. So I do think that like
It's not cooked. You can still feel joy and all those things. It's just it'll be a radical difference within your life. Your life might change a lot as soon as you start start moving away from that what's as soon as you start moving away from what's deemed normal in today's society, the pain and being miserable and all this, your life start changing up way more. You start vibrating closer to people that think just like you instead of vibrating towards people that obviously they live in that world.
the inner child is a very, 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 very powerful weapon. I said very like four times, didn't I? But like it's a really powerful weapon against evil. And like the more you cultivate the inner child, the more you cultivate the instincts and the imagination and the expanded sense of possibility of a child, going back to that childlike state of purity, of spiritual purity. The more you do that, like the more of a fighting chance you have against this demiurge, because the demiurge wants you to be afraid. They want you, like, the demiurge wants you to be scared and to take everything seriously and to pay attention to the demiurge's serious hat. right? But and I noticed like that this is one of the ways to like combat fear is with laughter, with sort of like laughter. It's almost like a like if you have like the Bugs Bunny lobe inside of the brain, like whenever whenever a lizard person tries to scare you, whenever an evil person tries to scare you, it's time to pull out the comically large anvil. It's time to pull out the propeller hat.
Y'all notice how on One Piece, I haven't watched One Piece. I don't think I'm ever gonna watch One Piece, but I be seeing like I'm on like the anime side of TikTok and shit. So and I just hear about One Piece. Recently with how Luffy had unlocked the new gear. I don't really know how that goes, but he unlocked the new gear and how basically it's like animation and how like his new gear is him being like child like laughing all the time and everything is animated. Everything bends to his will. It's because now he has found his inner light through his inner child. Y'all, it's underestimated how this inner child really works. It's very underestimated uh, how it works and how it can benefit you moving through your life. But as far as him saying what he was saying about laughter, laughter is really important though. Even when things in the moment don't seem funny, uh, your brain, I don't know, personally to me, I've been able to kind of just unlock that aspect of my brain where I find things funny when things are meant to be what's the word? Miserable, I guess. And it's not saying like I find like dark humor type funny, but it's more or less just like I'm able to when I experience pain, I'm able to laugh at the pain. That's why we have comedians. Comedians are there for us to laugh at our pain so that we can see our pain and laugh at it. But I unlock the aspect of myself where I can just laugh at my pain. I can laugh at aspects of myself and not take it so seriously. I cannot take so seriously this world and laugh at it. You know what I'm saying? But again, it's sticky when it comes down to laughter because not everything is funny, obviously. But you know,
It's time to pull
it's
out.
very useful when it also comes down to your nervous system as well. I forget the whole science behind it, but I know that when you laugh, it helps calm down the nervous system. It helps tell the nervous system, hey, everything is okay. Everything is fine. There's no um, danger. There's no danger. Everything is okay. When you laugh, it allows your nervous system to calm down and it tricks your mind into believing, hey, there's nothing going on. There's nothing negative going on. And it takes you away from that negative thought loop.
The it's time to place a mouse trap that slaps into their big toe and makes them scream like Tom and Jerry, right? Like that kind of mentality is the way that you deal with evil. And yet again, like I bring up like Pennywise and like the
Oh
It,
shit.
movies. Like yet again, I haven't watched it. I've watched scenes where it's like yeah, like I get the gist of like how Pennywise operates as like an entity. Is that he feeds off. First of all, Pennywise is an entity that is obsessed with he consuming the flesh and the fear of children, right? So that is an interesting theme there. But with when it comes to Pennywise, like his power comes from like people being afraid of him, and so as soon as like if you make fun of Pennywise or if you have like that slapstick humor with that sort of like Bugs Bunny humor, like it's almost like the power disintegrates. And I think like the like Pennywise is like the most accurate depiction of like the way that like an archon operates. Right? Yet again, the obsession with children, feeding off of the fear of children, consuming the flesh of children, like that is very accurate to like what these demonic entities are and what they're like and where their power comes from is our fear of them. So I think like the more sort of, and I'm still learning how to do this. I'm still learning how to have this mentality, right? I think that we're all conditioned to be afraid of everything. We're all conditioned to have the fear and superstition,
Yeah.
fear, doubt, and disbelief, as Morpheus would say, right? Like we're all conditioned with that. But I think that like the more you adopt that sort of propeller hat mentality, I think that's a really good name for it. Name for it is like the propeller hat mentality. is like the more
Inner
you
child.
adopt that sort of like Bugs Bunny mentality when it comes to dealing with evil, when it comes to
Divine
dealing with
play.
bullies, when it comes to
All this is the divine play. That hat is he's talking about is called the divine play.
dealing with like agents of the matrix, the more the more you operate from an inner child energy without fear, the more you operate from that sort of spiritual divine purity, the more of a fighting chance you have, right? But yeah, that was just the thought that I had about like the inner child, like that inner child versus the demiurge theme that I see. Really, it really does resonate. It really does speak to me, and I think that that is like sort of the primary battleground that between good and evil. But yeah, that's the video.
That was five video, man. W video. Now on the real though, all that he's talking about basically is the divine play, the aspect of yourself that allows your inner child. All your inner child is a representation of that inner glow. It is your glow. Um, it is the aspect of yourself when you allow your left hemisphere of your brain and your right hemisphere of your brain, your masculine, your feminine, the matter and the mind, when all those balance, when all those come together and you live in a balanced state, you will reach your enlightenment. You reach your glow. You reach that inner childlike state that allows itself to dream, but it also goes for that dream. It also speaks highly of that dream. It sees the world with new eyes. It is grounded within being present. It yeah, that's what the inner child is. And when you reach that state, that's when you also reach divine play, where you're it's not that you don't take life serious. You do take life serious in a way of, your dreams, your aspirations, your desires you want to go forward with, but you're not attached to it because you're so busy being in the present moment. You're so busy viewing the world with your new set of eyes. Or you get what I'm trying to say? That's what divine play is. That whole video was a great representation and understanding of divine play in the inner child, with those how those play in uh your enlightenment, I guess you can say. That was a good video.